Welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast, the #1 marketing and practice growth podcast for high-performing private practice hearing care leaders. It's Friday, and this is my end-of-week roundup of what's top of mind after 7 days of helping some of the world's best private practices to attract high-quality patients, fight the evil forces of manufacturer-owned chains, and be impossible to compete with. My name's Ollie Luke. Pull up a chair, pour yourself a drink, and let's have a chat. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business of Hearing podcast. And today we're talking evidence, Your Honour, and an interesting topic that I think is really important to talk about when it comes to how we can build proof that we are who we say we are in the market. And I'll try and keep this as tactical as possible for you, but let me zoom out and give big picture and context to this, because when we're kids, when we're in that age of forming our brains and view of the world, we're quite rightly told by our parents to respect any form of authority. Like, what they tell us is the truth. Like, don't touch that, it's hot, and we wouldn't dare touch it to see if it's actually hot. Or don't speak to strangers, it's dangerous, don't go near roads. Like, you take this stuff as gospel because it's come from an authoritative figure, and as a result of it coming from an authoritative figure, you don't really question it, you just follow it. And for many years, like, we take those views into other areas of our life, right? So if a doctor says something, don't question it, it'll be 100% accurate. If the president says something, it must be accurate. But what we've seen over time, more and more with the internet and fact checking being so easy, is we've become far more skeptical at believing what we're told. And quite rightly so, because what we're often told is not always the case. And what was really interesting in 2021, Harvest Media did this big report over 395,000 people. And surprise, surprise, we found that a lot of people don't trust brands and don't believe that a brand will deliver on the promises that they say. And I think I've got the exact stat here. So 56% of global respondents said that business leaders were purposely trying to mislead people by sharing things that they know are false or gross exaggerations. Like, that is the belief system of the average person on the street, of their trust for businesses, brands, etc. People do not believe what businesses and brands fundamentally say. And although we've always been told that if someone with an authoritative figure says something, it must be true, more and more skepticism and trust is in a compromised position. Trust is at an all-time low, especially for us as business owners who need to set up a stall and say, here's who we are, here's what makes us different. And this is why our job is so importantly to build a body of evidence to prove we are who we say we are. And the way I put this to you is, if you had to sit in front of a judge and a jury and you had to justify who you claim to be in your marketplace, whether that is we're the most trusted, we're the most experienced, we have the highest levels of care, we have the most advanced XYZ, you need to build a case of evidence that you can sit in front of that judge and jury, and they will all agree that your evidence stacks up, that there is no way that you cannot be proven against what you've suggested. So you need to be confident to sit there and have enough evidence to back up exactly who you say you are, that there's no chink in the armor of anybody questioning anything, because you've got an obnoxious amount of evidence. And going back to like the big 9-step strategy and methodology that we drive for practices, like, this is a fundamental stage. Once you've got specificity on the types of patients you want, and you've built the brand, the marketing, the business to look like the business that naturally serves them, the goal is to build an ungodly amount of evidence to prove that you've helped those types of people to achieve the outcomes they're looking for. And evidence collection is so key. Now, the beauty of evidence collection, and I'll come on to 5 different ways you can collect evidence in a moment, is it becomes a flywheel effect. When you collect evidence, it attracts more people, and you attract more people, which builds more evidence. Flywheel. And that is the beauty that you want to get to from an evidence collection perspective. But let me give you 5 different ways that you can build evidence and proof through your marketing, through your practice, through your business, in order to attract more of the types of people that you like to work with. And the first one is the obvious one, right? It is reviews. Now, I could bore the hell out of you on this. I could talk for 15 minutes, but really I could probably fit everything that you need to know into 15 seconds, because we all know this. We've all been told to collect more reviews. And really, if we're looking at Google reviews as the main platform for where you drive reviews, quantity over quality is often weirdly more important. People look at the number more than the depth of message. And if you're looking at something of how can we just drive reviews, how can we ensure that every patient that walks in gets given the invitation to share their experience, just hit the 5 stars, then that would be the platform that you would look to do it on. You're looking for quantity. Can you have hundreds? Can you have thousands of people that have given you 5 stars? That builds evidence for people that are using Google and rely on reviews as a way to dictate who to choose. Like that's where reviews would play a role. I would encourage you to focus on Facebook reviews right now as well, by the way. Main reason for that is Bing use Facebook reviews. They don't have their own inbuilt review system. So given that that's the case, and then ChatGPT predominantly as a Microsoft related product uses Bing more than Google, it's worthy of putting focus on that. But Google first, Facebook second, like driving reviews on them would be super, super key. And a little top tip for you, if you're looking to ask for reviews and you don't know how to ask, etc., the worst thing you can do is ask for a review for you. Like, this isn't about you. The more you can identify the problem and you step out of it, the better. And what I mean by that is, if you can say to the patient, hey, could I ask you a favor? Patient says yes. And you say, like, one of the challenges we have is many people rely on Google reviews as a way to decide who to visit. We really need to start collecting more of them. Would you be willing just to share your experience on Google so more people like you can follow in your footsteps, or give advice to those people that are currently looking at reviews and deciding who to choose? Essentially, you help the patient understand that their job is not to tell you how amazing you are through a Google review. This isn't about giving yourself a pat on the back. It's have the patient encouraged to help other people who are in their shoes in order to follow in their footsteps. So that would be a big one, just changing that dynamic ever so slightly. Second big way to build evidence, build credibility, build the case of evidence that you are who you say you are, is through case studies. Now, these are what I believe are majorly underutilized in our industry, and something that we drive very, very heavily for the practices that we work with. Because what we found is people want familiarity. When they're on your website and they're looking at, can you help them? They want to see people like them with the same pain points, the same challenges, in the same cycle of life, whatever it may be. And they want to see stories. They don't want to see one of your patients saying, ABC hearing are amazing, highly recommend. That doesn't really hold that much depth. It's a review, it's better than nothing, but what they're looking for is, can I see stories of other people who are in a similar position to me that did the thing that I'm considering doing, and now as a result are so happy that they did and recommend that I do the same. Like, that is magic. And there's a great way you can do this. If you can build a quantity of quality case studies through your website, it holds so much weight and power, and it's probably one of the most powerful marketing plays that you can do. Really, really simple way to do this. Ask your patients to share their story. Once again, explain to patients that every day we hear from people who are concerned about their hearing, don't know what to do, don't know where to go, and they're screaming out to hear from somebody that's been in a similar situation to them. Would you be willing to share your story to empower more local people to follow in your footsteps? Like, stop making yourself the star of the show. This isn't them leaving a case study for you. This is them leaving a case study to help other people like them. Ask them a few questions, understand when they first realized they had a challenge, the fears, concerns, what held them up. Was it vanity? Was it price? What was the reason that they delayed seeking help if they did? Why did they choose you? How has better hearing impacted their life? What would they say to somebody that's considering visiting you for the first time? Like, ask those types of questions to build a narrative that creates a beginning, middle, and end of a story. Get a picture of the patient doing something they love as a result of being able to hear better, and you create a quantity of powerful case studies that hold a significant amount of weight and do a huge amount of convincing, especially if these case studies are all focused on the types of patients that you want more of, because those types of patients want to see people like them who've worked with you achieve the outcomes that they're hoping to achieve. So that holds huge, huge weight. What have I got in number 3? Let me just look at my notes here. Okay. So the third one is industry recognition. Now, we all naturally want to work with the experts, right? And one of the ways that we can judge who are experts are typically who are the ones that have received recognition, won awards, have credibility external of what they've created themselves, essentially. Now, we as practices get invited often to be like part of this best of, or can you get people to vote for you for this local magazine? And in many ways, it's mostly BS, right? We know it's a bit of a pay to play game. Anybody can go and win any award by spending enough on advertising with the magazine that's running the awards. Dare I say, I could set up an awards company tomorrow by buying a domain website for $10 and then make myself the entrepreneur of the year, the smartest entrepreneur of the year, the best marketer of the year. Like it's not as fancy as it used to be, right? It's a very easy to manipulate system, would be an easy way to say it for me. But these hold weight. Not to say that these should be the first thing that people see, but when people are looking for the layers of credibility to show that you've been recognized in the community year after year as the best hearing care practice, these things should be part of the mix. Not the only thing and not the main thing, but part of the mix. Fourth thing is before and afters. Now, this is difficult in our industry, but if you look at any other industry, before and afters are quite prominent, especially when there's some form of transformation that occurs. Dental would be a good example. Like the best way a dentist can prove evidence that they're pretty good at what they do is before and afters. It's here's somebody's teeth that has a gap and they're stained and they've got challenges. Here they are now 6 months later after we've worked with them and they've got perfect white Hollywood smile, right? That is like the play that they make. And if they do enough of them, it holds a huge amount of power that people go, that person's teeth looks like mine. And I'll share from my experience. I had Invisalign a couple of years ago and I had like so many issues with my teeth, not so much from a dental concern issue, but just like the way it looked and the confidence impact that had on me. I had like natural gaps and stuff like that. When I was looking for anybody to help from a dental perspective, I was looking for just somebody that looked like they had the same teeth as mine, because I felt the gaps were unique. It was gaps in a few areas, not just a middle gap. And as a result, I was like, well, they haven't helped anybody like me. And then I found a dentist where someone's teeth looked somewhat similar to mine. They were geographically a little far away, but I chose them because I felt like I'd seen somebody who can solve the exact challenge that I've got that is custom to me. But before and afters are a key one. In our industry, what can this mean? Here's what I'd be looking at, and it's a little unique, and I don't know the answer specifically, but I'd be focusing this on how you've helped existing hearing aid wearers go from here to here. Now, I'm not sure what the graph is. I'm not sure how you would visually present this, but if you can have a way to say, this is what their hearing aid performance was, it was 46 out of 100. Then they worked with us and now it's 92 out of 100. I know that's probably not an easy thing to pull. Is this a graph? Is this some form of real ear measurement chart? What would be it to show that somebody was not having a good experience and now having a good experience, which would be a side-by-side graphic that isn't a patient looking sad and then looking happy? Like, that's what I'd be considering, because most patients don't understand what they'd be seeing. You can naturally use graphs in a way that tell the story that you want them to tell, of course, with the accuracy of before and after. But that would be another bow of evidence that you could apply that isn't so prominent in our industry. I've not seen hardly anybody do it, but is a solid way to prove evidence that you could leverage if you're going to be playing the creative game of how you achieve it. Fifth big piece of evidence, and one of the final piece of the five that you can look to utilize in order to prove credibility and prove that you've helped people, like the people that you want to help, to achieve the outcomes they're looking for with vast credibility, is endorsements. Now, hearing care, this is a little more difficult, right? But you look at how some of the biggest makeup, fashion brands blow up and become huge businesses. It's typically endorsements, and it's endorsements from an influencer. It's somebody on TikTok who's got a following who says, hey, this lip gloss is amazing. You should go and buy it. Here's the link. Like, those kind of endorsements have power. Now, in hearing care, what is the way that we do that? And I've seen a few practices that have a local celebrity that becomes the endorsement. They pay some money. Somebody comes and says something nice about them that they play prominently on their website and on TV advertisements. But really what I'd be looking at here is who in your community holds some influence and power and weight on the likes of social media, on the likes of those kind of platforms, and this could be like a news anchor through to a 22-year-old influencer, is there a way that you can have them come and visit you, build some relationship with them, and encourage them very subtly and very kindly to share some nice things about you? This doesn't really work so applicably in our industry like other things like case studies, reviews, etc. But there's vast power if you can have influential people with big following who are very well liked and known in your community saying nice things about you on the internet and encouraging more people to visit you. So that's one to wrestle over in your mind of how you could do that. And there may be somebody that instantly jumps out as the person, like a well-known musician who should have their hearing tested and probably should be a patient and has vast influence, or a radio host or whatever it may be. But like, some of those relationships are super, super powerful. And especially if this is not a really well-known musician or news anchor and they're quite local, them getting reach out from somebody like you to say, hey, we'd love to work with you. Can we come in, let's test your hearing, let's ensure your hearing health is where it needs to be, and build a relationship that way. It's going to be a little more novelty and a little more interesting and exciting. But I think this is so key. 5 big areas to build evidence. Like, if you can't prove it, you can't declare it as true. You need to be able to back up everything that you say, being able to sit in front of a judge and a jury with a case of evidence to back up and prove you are who you say you are. It's not a nice to have, it's more of a necessity right now in today's market, especially with trust at an all-time low, skepticism at an all-time high. You need to get this piece right. And just a few Google reviews isn't going to cut it. Build the quantity of quality evidence in multiple ways towards multiple people who want evidence in multiple fashions. But that's what I'd be putting my focus on right now. Hopefully that was helpful in terms of big picture, and then more strategically how you go and do some of this stuff. But I encourage you to get that work done. It's not a nice to have, it needs to get done. And as always with these things, if you listen to this, you run a solid practice with great reputation, does great work for patients, and you're just like, can we just get help to do some of this stuff? Then we're always looking for great practices to work with, to partner, to drive forward with. So drop me a message, drop me an email, find information at orange-grey.com, and we will explore further. But appreciate your time greatly. Thank you so much for lending me your ears. And as always, I will be back again next week with another episode. And there we have it. Another episode has come to an end. And I have a quick favor to ask. If you have found this helpful, then who do you know who should listen to this podcast? I strongly believe a rising tide lifts all boats, and right now, private practice needs to stick together to fight these big, gormless groups and these manufacturer-owned Goliaths that are looking to take market share from us. Consider who should be listening, pass on the word about the Business of Hearing podcast, and I'll see you again next week.